All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're looking at Barrick Gold.
Yeah!
Their Q3 2024 results just came out,
Hot off the press.
November 2024. You know, a lot of our listeners are really interested in this,
For sure.
especially because they're thinking about, maybe investing in mining stocks,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to know, should I go with a big giant
Yes.
like Barrick or maybe a smaller company?
Right.
So we're going to break it all down today.
Well, it's interesting, right away you see Barrick saying, hey, we're going to finish the year strong.
Okay.
Even though there have been a few hiccups.
A few bumps in the road.
Exactly. But if you look at Q3, gold production's steady.
Okay.
Copper production, now that's up 12% compared to last quarter.
Wow.
And it really looks like they're on track to meet their targets for the whole year.
That's great.
Especially because they're expecting a really big Q4.
Yeah, that 12% jump in copper, that really caught my attention.
Yeah.
What's driving that? I mean, can they even keep that kind of increase going?
Well, there are a few things happening.
Okay.
Their Pueblo Viejo plant, that's in the Dominican Republic,
Right.
that expansion is still ramping up.
Okay.
They're also getting more throughput at Nevada Gold Mines.
Uh-huh.
And their Kibali mine, that's in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
They're seeing higher grades there, so all of that together.
Adds up.
Exactly. Plus, their own projections, it's looking like a pretty solid Q4 for copper.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. But at the end of the day, investors really care about the bottom line.
Right.
How do the financials look for Barrick?
They're looking pretty strong financially.
Okay.
Their margins are better, earnings per share are up 33% compared to last year,
Hey,
and they're keeping that share buyback program going.
that's good.
All good signs for investors.
Yeah.
Suggest they're stable, and, there's potential there for some good returns.
Now, I remember reading about some equipment failures at Pueblo Viejo.
Oh, yeah.
How did that impact them?
That was a big deal. I mean, they had to completely re-engineer a massive conveyor structure
Wow.
and redesign gearboxes in their flotation circuit.
Now, just for our listeners,
Yeah.
the flotation circuit, that's a key part of separating the copper from the ore.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where they use those big bubble baths to float the copper up and separate it out.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't easy to fix those problems.
Definitely sounds like a challenge.
But they did it. It shows how resilient they are operationally, I mean.
Seriously.
Yeah, that adaptability, it's something investors really like to see.
Especially in a company as big as Barrick.
Right.
So this leads us to the big question a lot of people have.
The big one.
Large cap versus small cap.
Right.
Mining stocks. What are the big differences for an investor to think about?
Okay, so let's just start with the basics. Market capitalization.
Okay.
Large caps, like Barrick, they have a way higher market value. Compared to the smaller companies, we call them juniors sometimes.
Okay.
So generally speaking, that means large caps are seen as less risky, but their growth potential, that might be a little more limited.
Compared to the smaller companies.
Exactly.
So, thinking about how Barrick performed this quarter,
Yeah.
how does that play into their advantages as a large cap company?
Well, their Q3 results give us some good clues.
Okay.
They've got a diverse portfolio. They're not just in one place. Their mines are spread out across different regions.
They're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
Nevada Gold Mines, Pueblo Viejo, Lumana, and Zambia,
Okay.
and just to name a few.
Right.
That geographical spread, it's a big advantage. It lowers their risk, compared to a junior company,
Right.
which might be totally dependent on just one project.
Yeah, makes sense.
And those share buybacks we were talking about,
Yeah.
that kind of suggests that they think their stock is undervalued right now,
Oh, okay.
which could be a good sign for investors.
Right.
It's all about boosting shareholder value.
Showing that they're serious about giving back returns.
That's a good point. It sounds like they have a lot of confidence in their future. But, less risk doesn't always equal exciting returns.
Right.
How does that usually work out with a large cap stock like Barrick?
That's where their strong financials really help.
Okay.
Steady dividends, we talked about that, the share buybacks, and they can really invest in future growth. All of that helps create value for shareholders. And they're really focused on operational excellence, closing mines responsibly.
Right.
That shows a long-term vision.
Yeah.
And that appeals to investors who want stability and sustainability.
Okay. This is all really helpful for understanding Barrick. But I'm also thinking about those smaller mining companies.
Yeah.
What makes them attractive?
It's a good question because you have that added risk.
Right.
Well, you see, small cap miners especially those making new discoveries,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're operating in a commodity market that's booming,
Right.
they have the potential for huge returns. Okay.
If a junior company, let's say, strikes gold,
Literally.
well, yeah, sometimes literally, their stock price could just skyrocket
Wow.
in a way that Barrick just can't match.
Because they're already so big.
Exactly. They're already massive.
So it's that classic high risk, high reward.
Pretty much.
But you got to be okay with a lot of ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
Things might not work out.
Definitely.
And you could lose your investment.
It's a real possibility.
So let's bring it back to our listeners for a second.
Sure.
If they're trying to choose between a company like Barrick and a smaller gold exploration company,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the key things they should be thinking about?
Well, let's think about Barrick's recent performance.
Okay.
That Pueblo Viejo expansion, it was successful.
Even with those setbacks.
Right, even
Yeah.
with the setbacks. It shows that they have the experience and resources to manage these big, complex projects.
Yeah.
A smaller company might really struggle with that kind of thing. Let's say, I don't know, some equipment breaks down unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Or the price of gold suddenly drops.
Ooh, yeah.
The impact on them could be way worse.
Right.
They might not have the money or the know-how to recover as quickly.
So size can be a good thing in that case.
It can be a buffer, definitely.
A buffer against those shocks.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding risk.
Okay.
Barrick's also busy exploring for more growth.
So thinking long term.
Yeah, long-term potential.
Okay.
Take their 4-mile project in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
They just came out with some exciting drilling results.
Interesting.
It looks like there might be a big new discovery there.
Now, for a small company, that would be huge.
Oh, absolutely. Their stock would go through the roof.
Yeah.
But for Barrick, the impact is going to be smaller, but probably less risky too.
Okay.
It just adds to what they already have, makes their long-term growth look even better.
Strengthens their position.
Exactly. It reinforces why they're seen as a leader in the industry.
Okay, this is making a lot more sense now. So it's not just about bigger is better.
No, it's not that simple.
It's more complicated than that.
There's a lot of nuance. When you're choosing between a big company like Barrick and a smaller miner,
Yeah.
it all comes down to how much risk you can handle and what you want to achieve with your investment.
Your investment goals.
Exactly.
You know, one thing that I noticed when I was going through Barrick's report was all the stuff about technology and sustainability.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I was wondering what your thoughts are on that. How do you think that's going to affect the future of mining?
Well, that's a really good point. I mean, for big companies like Barrick,
Yeah.
and for the smaller players too.
Right.
You know, Barrick, they're putting a lot of money into automation, renewable energy, and, you know, trying to minimize their impact on the environment.
Yeah.
And these things are becoming more and more important to investors,
Right.
especially those who are really into ESG.
Yes.
Environmental, social, and governance.
Yep.
It's not just about digging up gold and copper anymore.
Right.
There's this whole other layer of things to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, those ESG factors, they're not just something you can ignore.
Yeah.
They're actually becoming really important for mining companies, like how they stand out from each other.
Yeah.
The companies that are really taking this stuff seriously, they might have a big advantage in the future.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, they're probably going to attract more investors. They'll find it easier to get money. And they might even be seen more favorably by local communities.
Right.
And the government, too.
Okay, wow. This has been a really interesting deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
As we wrap up here, what are some of the big takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
Well, first off, I think Barrick's Q3 results really show why they're considered a leader in this industry.
Okay.
I mean, they're doing a good job handling this complex global situation.
Yeah.
They're resilient.
And their financials are solid.
Now, when it comes to choosing between large cap and small cap mining stocks.
Well, there's no right answer that fits everyone, is there?
Right.
It really depends on you. How much risk are you comfortable with? What are you hoping to get out of your investment?
Your goals.
Exactly. And how much time and energy are you willing to put into researching different companies?
That's a good point.
A big company like Barrick, they can give you stability and consistent returns.
Right.
But if you pick the right small cap miner, you could see some really big growth.
Right. But
the risks are higher too.
and finally, don't forget, the mining industry is changing.
It is.
ESG factors are more and more important these days.
They are?
So pay attention to how companies are adapting.
For sure.
It's not just about profits anymore, it's about responsible and sustainable mining.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, I think this deep dive has given everyone a good foundation to build on.
I think so too. Keep researching, keep exploring, and stay curious out there.
That's the key.
Use this information to make smart decisions about your investments,
Definitely.
ones that match your values and your financial goals.
Absolutely.